got the great David Drew. Is it a medium? Is that what you call David?
Yeah, medium, clairvoyant, psychic.
How long have you been involved in this type of work, please, David?
But I've done this work now all of my life. I'm 56 years of age, and I can remember being 5, 6 years of age, playing on the swing in the back garden, and my mother called me in for dinner, and I said, is Aunt Bessie staying for dinner as well? And she dropped whatever it was she was holding. Aunt Bessie had been dead for many years, but we'd been playing together and talking in the garden. On other occasions, I'd be in the house about 6, 7 years of age, and I'd say to my mother, oh, by the way, Uncle Bill's coming on Sunday. And she'd say, why do you say such things? We never see Uncle Bill one year to the next. But then, of course, come Sunday and the doorbell went, and there stood Uncle Bill on the doorstep. For years afterwards, she'd say to me, how did you know? And the truthful answer is, I haven't got a clue. I just knew. I think there are times with all people, your daughter may turn up in your kitchen and say to your mum, and you say, don't tell me you're pregnant. How did you know? I think there is this psychic thing in all people, and I've developed it from a very, very early age. I've been working now for 40 years a medium. Some people say medium rare. And all this time, for 40 years, I've been travelling the world, travelling this country, trying to educate people, because I'm not a fortune teller. I don't have anything to do with the stars or tarot cards or crystal balls. I pass messages on from spirit. I've been in Llandudno for many, many years. People may have seen me working before, and you'll understand when I say, whatever I've got, I give it to you. I'm hoping to take away the fear of dying. That's one of my main things that I try to get across to people. And sometimes I try to bring comfort to people, of course. But, you know, I've often wondered this myself over the years. If I pass a message on, say, from a little girl who's 9 years of age, who died tragically a few years ago, and the mother is there in the audience, very often I think to myself afterwards, have I helped or have I not? I want to prove that this little girl is still living on in another world and she's happy. But is that bringing comfort? I hope so.
Right, the other side of it, Dave, we've got to get this out the way before we go too far into this. I think you need to clear something up for us. What would you say to a lot of people that think that a lot of this is kidology? Well, you must get it said. People mention things.
Yes.
What would you say to them?
I think all the people, broadly, everyone is in one of 3 categories. There are the firm believers, and I welcome them to come along. The people who, no matter what you say, will not believe. And they're probably best to stay away, because whatever I say, I'm not going to convince them. They've got a closed mind. But I think I'm right in saying that most people are at least open-minded. And so if they come along on the evening, they can then judge for themselves. They'll hear what I have to say, and if I can tell you the name of your grandmother, the date that she passed over, the condition that she had, and maybe she left a ring or whatever behind for you, that I'm trying to give you the proof, and this is what I endeavour to do on the night.
Right. Would this be slightly conflicting, Dave, with people's idea of heaven? Does that mean that these people are trapped, or there's another place before heaven? What would you say to people that were a bit curious for that answer?
You know, everyone dies, and I think no matter what religion you are from, you have some belief in an afterlife, whether that be heaven. But what I say is, everyone who is in the world today will die. Everyone who is in the world today will live on after death. But of course, not everyone is going to go to the same place. If some rogue, some murderer murders a child or whatever, and then kills himself, do you honestly expect them both to go to the same place? Of course not. There is a heaven and there is a hell. But I say to people, you don't have to die to be in heaven or hell. You can be in heaven or you can be in hell here on earth. I think they are conditions that you find yourself in rather than places that you go to.
Well, what do you think about some people, and we're trying to keep this light-hearted now, I mean, I'm trying to give you, David, and anybody listening, the greatest of respect, because I've got a completely open mind on this, and I mean that, but I've got to take you to task on this one, David. Have you actually been called to people's houses where there's been problems with ghosts?
Very often, and sometimes I have to say, I would say 9 times out of 10, when people phone me up because they think they've got an entity, a ghost, call it what you will, in the house is disturbing them, I found when I arrived that they don't need a medium, they need a plumber. It's rattling pipes or something. But of course there are, on occasions, it's very genuine, and for whatever reason, I mean, I can remember going to one house in particular. It had been empty for many, many years. An old spinster used to live there, but she died in that house. And she, at that time, did not know that she'd passed over. And she could not understand why people are moving into her house. Now, my duty is not just to the people who've called me in that got problems in the house, but it's also to the person in spirit who, for whatever reason, may be having trouble progressing, moving on, and I can help in those cases too. There's many aspects to the work that I do, not just being called into houses supposedly haunted. But most of the time, you know, every house is haunted because everyone has got someone with them in spirit. Not all the time. People come and go. They like to pop in and see how you're doing. This is what people say to me, oh, you know, my granny died last year and I feel that she's with me all the time. Well, that might be a nice feeling, but I have to tell you, no, she's not with you all the time. I'm sure she's there very often, looking down on you, seeing what you're up to, wanting to help. But she has other things to do in what I call the spirit world also. People pass over and they learn. There's an awful lot to learn when you pass over to spirit. I think life is all about learning. And I try to educate people now. This is why I'm taking time writing books. My last book, Stairway to Heaven, was quite successful. I'm trying to educate people that if you can gain spiritual knowledge here on earth, it will stand you in good stead when you pass over to spirit.
Right, Dave. You mentioned there before about people's houses being haunted. Now, is that a bad word, haunted? Is that not the right word, do you think?
It's a word that people understand. People say to me, I think I've got a ghost in my house. Well, what do they mean by there's a ghost in my house? Is it your grandmother trying to tell you something? Is it someone who used to live there before who's objected to you being in that house? There's different reasons. We say ghost, we say spirit, we say entity. But remember, these are people.
What about, this might be going slightly to the right here or whatever, to the left, but what about a scent? You know, a perfume, an odour.
Oh yeah, very often.
People can sense that.
And not just the scent, you know, someone said to me, I can always tell when my granddad's with me. I can smell his favourite pipe tobacco that he always used to smoke. Or my mother's favourite perfume. That's their way in spirit of just letting you know that they are there, because sometimes those in spirit can get very, very frustrated. They're standing there with you, they're wanting you to know that they're there with you, and you're completely ignoring them. And this is where my job comes in. I am an instrument. I am standing on a bridge in between two worlds. I see those in spirit and I see those in my audience, and I try to pass messages on from one side of this veil we call death to the other.
Right, I must say, Dave, and I've met you a few times and I've known about you and of you, but the word that's jumping out at me about you is that you seem very comfortable with it. Now, some of the phrases you're using, and the world and the bridge and the spirit world, this can be very scary for a lot of people.
It is, and that's why it's my job to not make it scary for people. It's when people use the word like a cult and what have you. It frightens people. A cult means the unknown. Now, if I lift the bonnet of my car, I haven't got a clue. I don't know what I'm looking at. So if there's something wrong with my car, I call a mechanic. If there's something wrong with the lighting in my house, I'll call an electrician. And there are times when people need to call a medium. Each to their own. I'm comfortable with it because this has been my life.
We got to the stage now where we're going to get a little bit deeper now. I want to know, if you don't mind, without any names or anything, a little bit of personal situation. Have you met a ghost, and I was going to say spoke to them, or communicated with them? Can you give me an example, please?
Well, of course, you're talking that word ghost. I use the word someone in spirit because they're people. And, you know, I think to myself, I wouldn't like to pass over from this life to the next and then be referred to as a ghost. I'm still that person. I've seen many, many people, of course, in spirit over the years. Sometimes I see, you know, this is interesting. Sometimes I hear, like if someone will say Fred, I can say to a member of the audience, I've got Fred with you. But it's no good you saying to me, what does he look like? I don't know. I'm just hearing. But sometimes I'll say, I've got a gentleman with you, he's 6 foot tall, wears a trilby hat, walks with a stick. It's no good you say, what's his name? I don't know.
Just a
I'm not
quickie,
hearing,
Dave.
I'm
Sorry,
just seeing.
I won't cut across you, but when you say you hear them, do you feel it or sense it in your heart, or do you actually hear a voice?
And there's different ways of doing it. Sometimes I hear the voice, like you talking to me now, very, very clear, but I'm not seeing. This is what I'm trying to explain. Sometimes I see, like I can look at you now, but I can't hear anything. And sometimes I will just feel, you use that word in the heart, I feel that there is someone here with you, but then that's a little bit difficult because I can't tell you who it is. I haven't got a name. I can't tell you what they look like. I'm just feeling. But sometimes I will feel, not a person, but I'll feel something about, I'll come up to you and I'll say, you're not yourself today, you know, you're feeling down, you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling upset, and you'll say, what makes you say that? I can feel with people. And that's a very interesting one sometimes, how you feel. But I say it's all very different over the years, and it has been now a long journey, 40 years professionally working, of seeing, hearing, or feeling, all kinds of things. And what I try to say to people is, let me just give it you as it is. Let me tell you what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling. I can't change it. If I say I've got Bill with you, please don't say, don't you mean Fred? No, I don't. I mean Bill. And I know people sometimes come along to the meeting and they're thinking, oh, I hope I get a message from my granddad, Fred. I hope I do, I hope I do. And when I give you a message from Florence, they say, no, 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 no. And then afterwards they'll say to me, well, I did have a next-door neighbour called Florence. And well, that's who it is. Keep an open mind when you come along to the meeting and accept what I have to say to you. If I get it wrong, and don't get me wrong, Kevin, I have been known to make mistakes in the past. I'm sure I do get things wrong. But I try to give people, without wrapping it up, without colouring it, I give people just what it is that I'm seeing, that I'm hearing, that I'm feeling.
Does it annoy you, Dave? I know you've got a great sense of humour, but does it annoy you when people say, what's the lottery numbers?
It doesn't annoy me now. I mean, being psychic all my life, I've had to develop broad shoulders and a well-developed sense of humour. I mean, I can go into my local pub and the landlord will say, good evening, David, how am I? I mean,
it's very good. I like that one. I'll use that one.
I can accept that. And of course,
yeah.
It's funny. A funny thing actually happened to me last night. I'm going to tell you this because I thought it was funny. And don't ask me to explain it because I can't. But I was in a certain pub, and they were playing the music, and someone said to me, what's this record called? I said, it's T-Rex, I Love to Boogie. And they said to me, now, you're psychic, what's the next record going to be?
Yeah.
And I said, it's going to be American Pie. And that came on. Believe it or believe it not, that came on, and I was as astounded as anybody else.
Yeah.
Then they said, how did you know that? How did you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And the truthful answer again, going back to my childhood, I did not know. I can't tell you how I knew, I just knew.
Right, now I've got to ask you this. You obviously go to the doctors now and again over a period of time. Has your doctor ever made any reference to your work? You know, because this is like, you've got your mental side, your physical side, and not many people talk about, not just you, but everybody's got a spiritual side to and the mood they're in that particular day. Now, as your doctor, I know you look like you're dying to come in here, Dave, but has your doctor touched on this, so like slightly abnormal, sort of sixth sense? How do they package it? Sorry to use the word package, by the way.
Nowadays, I have a really good rapport with my doctor, and he understands the work that I do, and I've known him for many years, and we've become great mates. But years ago, when I was a child, I remember my mother taking me to doctors to say there's something wrong with him. He keeps seeing things, hearing things, feeling things, coming out with all sorts of strange things. And I was taken at the age of about 10, 11 to various child psychiatrists and what have you. And I can remember typically lying on the couch at the age of about 11 with this psychiatrist saying to me, what is it that you imagine seeing? Well, that really did annoy me then.
At 11, you were annoyed,
I
yeah.
do not imagine seeing anything.
Yeah.
But I will tell you what I do see, and I told this psychiatrist what I was seeing with him.
Yeah.
And he straight away ushered me out of the room and said to my mother, I don't understand it, but don't bring him back.
Yeah, yeah.
He couldn't understand it.
Do you feel sorry? This is going like, this is opening it wide open now. Do you feel a little bit sorry for people, not the ones who skit at something like this, but people that don't believe there is a here? A lot of people think that this is it, this world, and this is it. Do you feel sorry for people whose thoughts patterns finish there?
I do feel sorry for people. I always think the people who do not believe in clairvoyance is like the person being born blind who doesn't believe in sight. We all must of us. We must have something to look forward to. If this is it, I think it would be a very, very depressing world. I think it's only because of whatever religion or of no religion you happen to be. If you can just think that there is something better to look forward to, because I do believe it very much depends on how you live this earthly life as to where you will go to afterwards. It is not how long you live that is important, it's how you live.
And also, you've also got to get to the stage of your mind that you're prepared to learn as well. You can't just write yourself off because you've been a bit of a baddie. If you realise you've been a baddie and don't do anything about it, then maybe there's problems. But people shouldn't feel as if, you know, because their life's been a mess, it's too late to turn it round. What do you think of that?
I think it's all about bricks and balloons. I think God dishes out the bricks and balloons, to put it in a simple term. I think every time you do a bad deed, something you shouldn't do, something that is wrong, you'll give it a brick. Every time you do a good deed, you'll give it a balloon. Let's just hope you can get more balloons than bricks at the end of the day when your time is up.